All right, guys, let's get this party started. To participate in today's math lesson, you are going to need to rip out of your workbook page 429 and page 431. You don't necessarily have to rip it out. If you want to just work in your workbook along with me, you can, but you will need to open up to page 429, and we're going to take a look at page 430. If you need more time to do this, please pause the video and then hit play when you are ready to go. Today we are going to be talking about creating equivalent fractions using division. Yesterday and the day before, we talked about using multiplication, and you guys have done a really great job of multiplying our numerator, our top number, and our denominator by the same number to get an equivalent fraction. Today we're going to do the same process, but we're going to be dividing, creating equivalent fractions, and when we divide, we're making the numbers smaller. So let's take a look at this page. It's just an example of how to divide to create an equivalent fraction. We are starting with the fraction 18/24, and if you look at this picture down here, this diagram, if you counted all the little squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you would end up getting 24. And if you counted the blue, there are 18. And they want us to find two fractions that are equivalent to 18/24. 18/24 is already a pretty big number, so they want us to divide instead of multiplying the 18 and the 24. In order to do that, we need to find common factors of 18 and 24 so we know what to divide by. Just FYI, we will never divide by 1 because if we divide by 1, we're going to get the same fraction. So we need to think about what two numbers both go into 18 and 24. And we will start with the number 2 because 18 and 24 are both even numbers. So if you take a look here, you'll notice that they divide the top number and the bottom number by the same number, just like we did when we multiply. 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. So an equivalent fraction for 18/24 is 9/12. They also found another common factor for 18 and 24, and that is 3. So they wrote that again, 18/24, and they divided the top number and the bottom number by 3 this time. And when you divide 18 by 3, you get 6. And when you divide 24 by 3, you get 8. So 6/8 and 9/12 are both equivalent fractions for 18/24. We're going to repeat that process over and over and over again today until we've got it down. So get your pencil ready. I want you to take a look at this next page. The first one we're going to do together. Number 1, use division to show 9/12 and 3/4 are equivalent fractions. Can you write this down on your paper? 9/12 and 3/4. And after you've written that down, I want you to ask yourself, how did I get from 9 to 3? How did I get from 12 to 4? What did I divide by to get 3/4? You may ask yourself backwards, what times 3 is 9? What times 4 is 12? And it should always be the same number. I would like you to stop and write that on your paper right now. Hopefully you wrote down 3/3. That is the fraction that we divide by in order to create that second equivalent fraction. Okay, now I'd like us to take a look at question 3. It gives us 6/10, and it wants us to divide to find equivalent fractions. In order to do that, I want you to think about what number could we divide 6 and 10 by. That is a common factor that goes both into 6 and 10. I'm going to tell you that we're going to start by using 2 because 6 and 10 are both even. If I divide 6 by 2 and 10 by 2, I get 3/5. I would like you now to try number 4 on your own. Divide 8 and 12 by the same number and then write it into this spot right here on your page, and you're also going to enter it into the video as well. You could have divided 8 and 12 by 2 and gotten 4 6, but you also could have divided 8 and 2 by 4 and gotten 2/3. Either of those answers are correct. All right, now let's move down to the bottom of the sheet. We're going to take a look at number 9, and what's nice about number 9 is that they already tell you what to divide by. So I would like you to divide straight across and write your answer in. 6 divided by 6 is what? 12 divided by 6 is what? Put your answer in, and then you're also going to write your answer into the video as well. Do that now. You should have gotten 1/2. Remember, when we are dividing and multiplying fractions, we work straight across. Okay, let's take a look at number 11. I would like you to do the same process. 2 divided by 2 is what? 6 divided by 2 is what? Write it in on your paper and also submit your answer into the video. You should have gotten 1/3. Okay, guys, let's keep moving. At the bottom of our sheet, you're going to find some problems that don't give you any hints. You need to decide what are you going to divide by and what equivalent fraction are you going to create. When we do this, we need to think about what are the common factors for the numerator and the denominator. So let's take a look at 40 and 10. I'm already thinking that 2 goes into both 40 and 10 because they're even numbers. So I'm going to write that out. I like to write it out and keep myself organized. 40 divided by 2 is 20, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. I'm noticing that my numerator is still greater than my denominator, which should be that way because when we started with our original fraction, the numerator is greater than the denominator. The directions tell us to find 2 equivalent fractions. Can you think of another common factor of 40 and 10? I'm thinking of 10. So on your paper, I'd like you to write this along with me. Let's divide 40 over 10 by 10. What we do to the top, we do to the bottom, and then we multiply straight across. 40 divided by 10 is 4, and 10 divided by 10 is 1. So 2 equivalent fractions are 25ths and 4 over 1, which actually equals just 4. Okay, this one you're going to try on your own, number 19. I would like you to find a common factor that goes into both 16 and 12 and divide by that number and then create an equivalent fraction. Once you have your equivalent fraction, write it down on your paper and then enter it into the Ed puzzle. Do that now. Okay, guys, you could have divided the 16 over 12 by 2. You could have divided the 16 over 12 by 4. That would have given you 8/6 or 4/3. Those are the 2 either options you could have had for an answer on that. All right. Good job working through today's lesson. Please listen to my directions on what you're going to do next. You're either going to be working in a group or you're going to be hopping onto the Practice Buddy, which you can find in Pearson.